All right, welcome to the deep dive on my Eurorack system. Top to bottom, left to right, I'll just take you on a tour through all the components that I have here. At the top left is a MIDI module. I did actually have to buy that, although on the back of the device there's actually MIDI connections. The next thing here is a space. One thing I realized is that I have this controller and I can get it going, but it needs USB power, so I have to get that from the computer. But I'm buying a little module that's a USB power so that I won't have to go outside. So that's coming, but I didn't get to use it for the class. Next is kind of a utility module. It has clock, it has pink, white noise, it has a pulse that can be clock or random. I have trigger in, and as you'll see here, I've got a hold for sample and hold. It also has this thing called track and hold, which I'm not quite as familiar with, but we did talk about sample and hold in the class. There's also a slew, which actually will take a completely linear signal and kind of curve it a bit. Headphones, and then over here I also have outputs in the back, 1/4 inch outputs and inputs. Here's a line in, here's a line out. This right here, this red module, allows me to use something like my phone, Bluetooth, and I can take those outputs and put them somewhere, so I can either use that for background music, or I could take songs and remix them by putting them through different modules like filters and stuff. Tempi, I'm going to show you that right now. And this is one of my favorite things. This is 6 outputs with 6 pads. And right now I have one of the outputs going to the trigger of this thing called plonk, which, as you can hear, is drums. And I also have pitch, and that is actually going to my controller, which is my keyboard controller, is my Moog. I could be using that thing for the class, but I figured I would just stick with this. But I do use the Moog all the time as well, so fear not. So right now it's tapping out a tempo. I can make that go faster, slower, and I can do that times 6. Each one of these are going pretty fast right now. So I'm going to slow them down so I don't get flipped out by all the... But that's basically that. You got a couple of things here where you can sync them all and modulate them as well. I haven't even done that yet because I'm just happy to have some of this cool stuff here. And a couple other things. I have plonk just going straight out. I put it into Y. There we go. And I could probably add that to like a white noise or something. There it goes. So that's a clock pulse going into that, and it's kind of adding a little reverb there. I don't know. Hopefully you can hear that fine. I'll turn it up a little higher. And by playing notes on my keyboard, so that's the highest note I can play. I can... What I'm doing right now is I'm just playing through some octaves on my keyboard. And one of the things I'm working on is trying to get this so that you can play snares and stuff like that. That's the drums. Next thing up is my little braids multi-oscillator. And this is a ring modulator. And right now, if I put sample and hold into timbre, random, And so that's called timbre. That adds some of the side bands. Color does the same thing. And I have color is one of these strips in Tetra pads. So as I move it up, it modulates that. So I can jam. Okay, so if I wanted to make this a little bit more kind of pedestrian, I could switch this over to a nice sawtooth wave. Okay, so that's that. Right now I have this going through a little multi-mode filter, which means that I can choose between low pass, high pass, and band pass if I want. And I could modulate that, but I actually don't have an extra ADSR right now. This Quadra thing, I'm not super happy with this little Quadra module, to be honest with you, because it's West Coast. I've got two mults going on here, by the way. This one over here is an active mult. That means that it kind of clamps down on any kind of voltage or pulse or anything that might leak out. This one's passive, and so it's possible that some signals might cause that thing to make some extra noise. So that is the braids. We looked at Planck, and if you listen to my last piece that was submitted for the concert, I used a lot of telharmonic, which I don't really have hooked up properly right now. But it's based on the telharmonium, and it's very machine-like sounding. It has 3 oscillators, but I have kind of an organ sound right here, right? But I don't have this going through an ADSR, so it doesn't have any filter, not filter, but it doesn't have a gate. Doesn't have a, no, it's not even right either. It doesn't have an envelope. That's what I meant. But it's kind of cool. If I could get that into a kind of a polyphonic sound, it would be pretty cool. So over here, I got a Rainmaker. It's like a 16-step sequenced delay reverb thing, which I haven't been able to figure out yet. Also here, as I mentioned, is a IntelliGel Quadra. It's a West Coast ADSR type of module, but it's not ADSR, it's attack and decay only. And I think the problem with it is that it only allows I think it's got to have a +10 signal, and I don't have a +10 signal going in it. Quad VCA, of course, is just a VCA, which is gated from this 2HP ADSR. I don't have the freeze module in place right now. I like to use that for the drums, because basically it's like a little mini sampler or like a little guitar pedal that you could play like 2 to 5 seconds or so and then freeze it and play it back. Mult. This is a mixer right here, easy mixer. I only have this in mono, and then I just got this in the mail a couple of weeks ago and also haven't been able to use this yet. But this is a quad mixer with a joystick, and you could program it and do all kinds of cool stuff. So if there was a part 2 for this class and I wasn't graduating at the end of the summer, I could demo some of this stuff for you when I learn it. And then of course I have a whole other synth right here which you can't see, which is all pretty West Coast make noise technology, and I didn't get a chance to get to that either. But that's basically the deep dive walkthrough of my current synth. Thank you for listening.